7:30 on Monday, October 7th. And this is the Brainerd City Council meeting, and I call the meeting to order. Tony, please call the roll.
O'Day. Stunek.
Here.
Terry. Here. Stingline.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Chesak.
Here.
Bevins.
Here.
Badeau.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4 is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Chesak. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Terry. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up is the consent calendar. I've had a couple of requests on the consent calendar. Item E has been asked to be pulled off, the letter of support for Northland Arboretum. Is that correct, Mr. Chesak?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Item F, the approval of the event street closure application by the Brainerd Elks has been asked to be removed indefinitely, correct, Mr. Mayor?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, and it might come back. And then item H, the street closure for the YMCA Family Monster Dash. Is there any objections to any of those three being removed? And then items E and F will, or E and H will follow immediately after the vote on the consent calendar.
Move approval with changes.
Thank you. Motion by Johnson, second by, was it just?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
O'Day.
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Stingline.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Chesak.
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes, okay, the consent calendar with changes has been approved. Next up then would be E, the authorized letter of support for the Northland Arboretum for the regional designation through the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission. Mr. Chesak, you asked to have this pulled off.
Yes, reading through the information, it's just very confusing, the numbers that are in there about the city-owned property and the 110 acres, 120 acres. I have never seen those numbers before, and I would just like to maybe have this come back at our next meeting perhaps, unless there is a deadline to get this in, which I'm not aware of. Maybe staff could chime in if there is. And just to have a little bit more information along with this, other than just a request for a letter of support, to have more background as to what it is, and then an explanation of what is in that actual memo that we're asking our administrator to sign on the Arboretum's behalf.
Perf, so it's the geographical acreage split that's in the letter. Can anybody in staff answer that question?
I'm not aware of any deadline. I'll follow up with Trevor Pumnia, but we can certainly confirm these numbers and bring it back to council, and I'm not aware of any deadline.
Okay, you understand Mr. Chesak's question?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Any objections to that coming back in 2 weeks? Okay, item F then, the approval of the street closure. We'll just come back if they decide that they're going to do something, they can come back to us. And item H, Tiffany Stengline, you asked this to be pulled off?
Yes, because I'm an employee of the YMCA, I have to abstain.
Got it. Okay, so we're looking for a motion to approve the event street closure for the YMCA Family Monster Dash.
So moved.
Motion by Terry, second by, was it O'Day down here? Sure. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, and an
One
abstention.
abstention.
Okay, and that street closure event application has been approved. Item 6 is the council committee reports. Item 6A is the Personal and Finance Committee. Chairman Gabe Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 9 items, the first of which is a firefighter retirement, and the motion is to accept, with regret, the resignation of firefighter Josh Smith effective December 31st, 2024.
We have a motion by Johnson, second by Stunek. Any discussion? Chairman Johnson.
Josh has been with the department for 22 years, so he will be greatly missed, and hopefully we can find a good replacement.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. The next motion is a resignation of a police officer, and the motion is to accept the resignation of police officer Elizabeth Gleason effective October 4th, 2024, and further to authorize staff to begin the hiring process to backfill the position, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnson, a second by Terry. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Next up is a CSO, and the motion is to reclassify Jude Gregerson to Community Service Officer effective October 1st, 2024, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnson, a second by Stunek. Any discussion? Chairman Johnson.
Jude was our police intern. Yeah, that has a time limit on how many days you can work. He's reached that limit, so we're going to move him over to the CSO program.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
Okay, next up is a resignation, and the motion is to accept the resignation of Recreation Specialist Haley Blank effective September 19th, 2024, to approve the updated Recreation Specialist job description as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Board, and to authorize staff to begin the hiring process to backfill the Recreation Specialist position, and the interviews will include the incoming Public Works Director, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnson, a second by Terry. Any discussion? Chairman
So
Johnson.
Haley resigned, it went to the Park Board, they looked at the job description, made a few minor changes, that's what's before us here that we're approving. And then we just want staff to get this filled as soon as possible, but we do want to wait until we have a Public Works Director that can participate in that hiring process, so they know it's someone they feel comfortable that they can work with.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Okay, next up is informational regarding the Transit Operations Specialist position. And I forget this update. Chris, please update us there.
Sure. We had an unsuccessful hiring process for our transit operations specialist position, and so staff is taking the time now to re-advertise for that position. It will take us a little bit. When we did get authority from the council for this position, we had asked council to hire a temporary employee while that position was vacant. So that person will continue on while we redo that hiring process.
Thank you for re-updating me.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on what we're doing with the Transit Operations Specialist? Please proceed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Next up is another retirement, and the motion is to accept with regret the retirement of meter service worker Carl Kazar effective December 12th, 2024.
I have a motion by Johnson, a second by Terry. Any discussion? Chairman Johnson.
Okay, so Carl's retiring. We're not going to backfill the position immediately. We're going to let the Public Utilities Director Evans kind of assess what he wants or needs out of that position, and they'll come back with a hiring position sometime in the future.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. Next up is authorize staff to begin the hiring process for an apprentice line worker, and the motion is to authorize the hiring process for an apprentice line worker instead of a journeyman line worker, and further that we utilize an internal job posting to fill the vacancy, and I so move.
Motion by Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Stunek. Chairman Johnson.
So an apprentice isn't as experienced as a journeyman, but as an apprentice, you can work your way up to become a journeyman and take the classes and get your hours in, and we think that would be a good thing to institute that in our organization, so we're going to do that.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Evans.
Yep, Mr. Chesak.
I forget the gentleman's name, but he achieved that journeyman status at the Public Utilities, I believe it was last year, and it's a big deal. They put a lot of time in, a lot of studying, and it was kind of a round of applause for that individual. I wish I could remember his name, but somebody achieved that journeyman status at one of our meetings that was recognized last year. So just thought I'd mention that. It's important.
Thank you.
Chris knows the name.
Chris knows the name?
Yes, the individual was Ryan Miller.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
The motion is to approve a flexible spending account administration contract, and the motion, I didn't want to approve that. It was 8%. Next up is the health insurance broker agreement. And the motion is to authorize retaining North Risk Partners as our health insurance broker for the 2025 Better Health Collective, formerly Sourcewell, in the amount of $27,000. Further, to approve the attached 2025 service agreement between the City of Brainerd and North Risk Partners, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Terry. Chairman Johnson.
This was a split vote in committee, and I voted no, and I'm going to continue to vote no because we got to find ways to save some money in the budget. And I think this is one way we can save $27,000. The committee didn't agree with me, so the recommendation is to approve, even though I'll be voting no.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Kara Terry.
And I can just mention from my perspective, there's quite a lot of work that goes into open enrollment and that type of thing. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, it was also recommended that we relook at what we're doing in terms of insurance. And that would be quite a lift as well this coming year if you were to do it.
Yes, the last 2 years, our utilization was quite high. In fact, not last year, but the year before, we had the highest claim of the entire pool within our organization. Because of that, we did not look these last 2 years at a possible RFP for looking at other options for insurance carrier. When we talked at our employee insurance committee meeting with Mr. Olson, our insurance broker, he mentioned that maybe next year might be a better year for us, especially since we are transitioning to Blue Cross. Maybe Health Partners might be a little bit hungry to look at us. And he, in the past, he's been able to negotiate for us as well. Going back to what he does now, I'm guessing it's probably a couple hundred hours of time between he and his assistant that help between get everything ready for questions throughout the year, open enrollment, and then employee insurance committee meetings and things like that. So he does help, or they do help quite a bit. As far as that RFP process, I helped Sourcewell with their RFP process this year to transition from Health Partners Blue Cross. I can't tell you how many hours just looking at the proposals, but you actually have to create them, and then you have to figure out apples to apples. And utilizing someone to help you decipher that information is extremely helpful. In the past, also, our broker has helped us get a reduction in premium when it was warranted, and we weren't at the high premium or the high utilization that we've had. So I do I do recommend that we continue to utilize this service.
Okay, thank you. So that's the reason I'm voting yes, is because I know Chris doesn't have the extra hundreds of hours of time to complete all of that work.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the motion is to approve Northwest Partners for $27,000. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Please proceed.
Can't get 2 votes.
So cancel the first one.
I thought I moved you, Mr. Johnson.
No, it's
Please
a waste.
proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next up is to approve flexible spending account administration contract. The motion is to approve the attached agreement with WEX Inc. to provide our flexible spending account administration effective January 1st, 2025, subject to review and approval by our city attorney, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stunek. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. We have to have an administrator for this, and we're changing. WEX will require a $500 one-time setup fee, and their monthly fee per participant is $4.95 instead of $4.25. So it will be a slight increase in cost, but pretty negligible.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Kara Terry.
I would just mention that as a county employee, I do utilize WEX. As a user of it, it seems to be a good program. I have no interest in it whatsoever in terms of profiting or anything. So I had asked Councilmember Johnson about conflict of interest and was reassured that it's not, so I can vote on this. Just wanted to be transparent.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
That's the end of report.
Thank you. Next up is 6B, Safety and Public Works Committee Chairman Mike O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had 8 items tonight. First item was an update on the Trunk Highway 210 Lum Park Pedestrian Bridge grant funding. And the motion coming out of committee was to recommend that the council reinstates the city's utilization of the CRP grant for the Trunk Highway 210 Lum Park Pedestrian Bridge project until fiscal year 2026, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Stegline. Any discussion? Chairman O'Day.
Yeah, so if you remember, I think it was the last meeting or the one before, we we're basically running out of time to use the money, the 1.3 million in this grant towards the massive pedestrian bridge project that we're working towards. We just haven't had any other grants. MnDOT reached out, they swapped some projects around and found a way to extend that for a year, so we may be revisiting this in another year. Hopefully not. Hopefully we can secure more grant funding between now and then, but this gives us another year to keep trying.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Bevins?
Mr. Chesak?
I guess I would just like to weigh in on the word that Mr. O'Day used as massive pedestrian bridge project. I would just say that it's a massive, expensive project.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. Next item was authorization for applications for the active transportation and transportation alternatives grants. Motion coming out of committee was to authorize staff to apply for the active transportation and transportation alternative grant programs for Trunk Highway 210 Lum Park Pedestrian Bridge Project, and I so move.
We have a motion by O'Day. Is there a second? Second by Stengline. Any discussion? Chairman O'Day.
These are a couple grants that we've applied for, I think, both the last couple of years, and since we're back in the running with this 1.3 million in grants, we're just going to apply again. Hopefully we can keep adding.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Tiffany Stengline.
There have been some changes to the TA or the AT. Jesse, I can't keep them straight. But one of them that makes us better candidates for the project. So hopefully we'll get the money this time.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Bevins?
Yeah, Mr. Chesak.
Like Tiffany, I get confused between the AT and the TA, but one of these has a 20% match, so just caution the council. It's 20% of whatever. So it's still, this project is a lot of money, and we're struggling as it is, so.
Thank you.
Matches are hard to sometimes come up with.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. Next item was approval of the sale of a transit bus number 114. And motion coming out of committee was to recommend that the council authorize the sale of bus 114 contingent on MnDOT's authorization, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Chesak. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. Item number 4 was approval of updated cost for the Rosewood Alley sewer replacement, and motion coming out of committee, oh, they wrote that on the wrong one. Motion coming out of committee was to recommend approval of the updated sewer main replacement proposal in the amount of $59,562. And I so move. Yeah, there was a
We
second
have a
motion.
motion by O'Day. Let's get a second.
Second, there was a
Second by Chesak. Go ahead, Mr. O'Day.
Yeah, it was a 6-inch pipe, I believe, in the original quote. We wanted an 8-inch pipe in there, so the difference from our original quote is about $2,470. But this gets us our 8-inch pipe that we need.
Thank you. Mr. Chesak.
Yeah, there is that's also includes, this goes to the Public Utilities Commission.
That was gonna be a second motion, because we made 2 motions. I'll bring that
The
next.
second motion was for the utility fees.
Yep, I'll bring it up next.
Okay, sorry about that, go ahead.
All right, any other comments on the updated sewer main replacement proposal? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion, all opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
There was a second motion on that item to bring back the fees discussion in 2 weeks, I believe, to Safety and Public Works?
Yeah,
Or do you want it to the council?
Safety and Public Works.
The Safety and Public Works, discussing these increased fees and to see if we want to change anything about those. So I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Chesak. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Bevins?
Mr. Chesak.
So our fees are based, we set for collection and water, were based on what we saw coming up for expenses. And because this is an unforeseen expense, we can always look at these fees to adjust to accommodate the additional costs, not only for this sewer project, but additional $16,000 they had for a couple of other sanitary sewer lines that were collapsed in the same neighborhood. So it's things start to add up in cost, and we didn't project the costs in our fee structure when we approved it last year. So that's what I was hoping, was asking staff to come back with suggestions for fee increases to cover these costs.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Any other discussion on the fee review? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. Item number 5 was direction on a sidewalk on Northwest 3rd Street and Jackson Street. Motion coming out of committee was to ask staff to come back with a official plan, including constructing the sidewalk between the two buildings and requirement to connect to the roundabout. And I so move.
Motion by O'Day, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chesak. Any discussion? Mr. Chairman O'Day.
Yeah, my Neighbor to Love Coalition requested basically approval that they could connect their buildings, the existing building and the next building that they're building. Problem was that it goes over the public right-of-way, so it technically should be built to specs. And that's why we want the official plan to come forward before we approve this. And it's supposedly they want to pay for that with some of their grant funding for the initial installation of that sidewalk.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. Item number 6 was approval of a final layout, order feasibility report, and SEH amendment request for the Trunk Highway 371B and Willow Street Roundabout project. So we had a few different motions coming out of this one. First one was approval of the layout as attached, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by O'Day, second by Stingline. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Next was a resolution, and this resolution, I move to adopt the attached and ordering the Trunk Highway 371B Willow Street Roundabout project, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by O'Day, second by Stingline. Any discussion?
I'd refer to
Mr.
Jesse.
Chair.
I would refer to Jesse with any questions on this resolution.
Sure. Any questions of staff on this resolution? Hearing none. Tony, please call the roll.
O'Day,
Yes.
Stunek,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stingline,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yep.
Chesak,
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes, that resolution is adopted. Please proceed.
Third motion was to approve the SEH amendment as presented and to amend the agreement with MnDOT to share in the costs of the amendment as presented, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Chesak. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. Item number 7 was consideration of code violations for Paradigm Auto. And in discussion, the motion was technically the motion was to table this, but I think the proper terminology would be, motion was to push this off until next meeting so that the owner of Paradigm can show up and speak their side. And I so move.
Perfect. Motion by O'Day. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by
Either
by Stangline. Any discussion on waiting a couple weeks on this one, Mr. O'Day?
I did oppose this. I suggested that we come back with a little bit of extra, an extra option. We can still do the extra option. It's just going to take another meeting, but I was suggesting that we offer a land swap so this individual can continue their business in a proper location with currently owned city property, but we can still discuss that in 2 weeks. So I'll vote yes right now.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. Next was just direction on active code enforcement cases. We had 2 cases, 608 9th Street North. That was for a tree that needs to be cut down. And 1812 Oak Street. This is for garbage, junk, and debris. Staff recommended obtaining a search warrant and abating the tree at 608 9th Street North, and staff recommended obtaining a search warrant and abating the garbage dump debris at 1812 Oak Street, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by O'Day, second by Chesak. Any discussion on either of these two properties? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
End of report.
Thank you. Next up is unfinished business, item 7. 7A is accepting the resignation of Jeff Grunewald from the Planning Commission. Is there a move to accept that?
So moved.
Motion by Stunek, second by Chesak. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 7B is accepting the resignation of Jennifer Samota from the Library Board. Is there a move to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Terry, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chesak. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 7C is accept the resignation of Tad Johnson from the Public Utilities Commission. Is there a move to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Chesak, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Stengline. Any discussion?
Yes,
Yep. Who said yes?
I did.
Mr. Chesak.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate Tad's offerings and input at the meetings. He's done a very good job, and it's always good to hear what he has to say. He's very, very smart individual.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign.
Aye.
That motion passes. Item D is the call for applicants, 7D. Mr. Mayor, please.
Yes, the following positions on commissions and boards are available. You can check those out on the city's website. We have the Charter Commission, 2 terms expiring 2025 and 2026, or 2 terms expiring 2026 as well. Transportation Advisory Committee, 2 terms expiring 2026. We also have the Economic Development Authority, 1 term expiring 2026. And as you just heard, we also have a BPU commission space and a library board space available as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and
Evans? Can I ask a question about these appointments?
you absolutely can.
Okay, so I see there's 2 vacancies on the Charter Commission? Is that correct?
That's correct.
No, there's 4.
There's 4.
Okay, so that means a quorum is 2 of the Charter Commission, based on what our attorney said about the Parking Commission?
I think so.
Okay, and then, of course, Transit, there's 2 vacancies there?
Yep.
So quorum would make 3 with 5 members, is that correct? Transit has 7, there's 2 vacancies, does a quorum make 3?
Correct.
Can you give us a report or some sort of legal definition instead of, I don't agree with you on that. I'd like to see his attorney come back, if I can make a motion to that.
You can't right now, but I'll tell you what, after call for applicants, we'll let you make that
Okay,
motion.
thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Chesak?
Nope, that's all.
All right, and as council president, I've got 1 term on the Parking Commission, and I suggest you get your application in right now if you want to be on that. Expired in 2026, and 1 term to expire in 2028. I don't know how many people are on the Parking Commission. I know there was only 1 guy on the Tree Commission, and he did a bang-up job.
Thank you, sir.
What's a quorum then?
All right, and we also have 1 term to expire on the Planning Commission. Mr. Chesak.
Yes, we heard from our attorney at the last meeting that there was 2 members available to serve on the Parking Commission, which only had 3 members serving, which there were 5 standing members that voted on that commission. He made the opinion was that 3 members, 2 vacancies makes 3 members, 2 serving, 2 would be a quorum. And I think we need more of a legal, lawful definition and report back on that instead of just the, based on what he said, I do not agree. That's to my point. We have 2 members, 3 members on the Charter Commission apparently that are able to serve. That means a quorum would be 2 based on what he said. Additionally, with the Transit Committee, that's a standing committee. We have 2 vacancies. That means a quorum would then be 3 with 5 members serving.
So your motion is to direct staff to bring back a little bit more.
Yes, more of a
legal
statute,
foundation for
language,
that.
whatever, Attorney General opinion.
Let's see if there's a second.
That's my motion.
Got it. So you understand Jeff's motion?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Chesak. This is just a direction to staff, correct? We'd like to see a little bit more basis for the, for the decision. Second by Johnson. Any discussion? Okay, I just want to ask Mr. Lango, you understand exactly what Jeff's question is? All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign?
Aye.
Thank you. Next up is item 7E, to adopt a resolution dissolving the parking commission. Mr. Kramvik, this is your agenda item. This one's kind of a softball, I think. I don't know,
Yes.
we struggled with the tree commission for nearly a year.
Thank you, Mr.
Anything you'd
President.
like to add to the parking commission?
Yeah, so just wanted to, this is a follow-up from the last meeting. Staff recommends adopting the attached resolution acknowledging and applauding the accomplishments of the Parking Commission and dissolving the commission until a time at which the City Council deems it necessary to reestablish it.
Okay, any questions of staff? Hearing none, would anybody like to?
Motion to approve the recommendation of staff.
Second.
We have a motion by Chesak, a second by O'Day. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Tony, please call the roll.
O'Day?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yep.
Terry?
Yes.
Stingline?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yep.
Chesak?
Yes.
Bevins?
No, I've always been a real proponent of having as many commissions as possible, meeting as long and as often as possible.
I might veto it now.
He is stuffed up, isn't he?
All right, that resolution is adopted. Next up is item 7F, which is a direction to staff to provide information regarding the Brainerd Lakes Regional Airport. Mr. Chesak, you sent an email on this, and I hope y'all read Mr. Chesak's email. Any comments you'd like to make before I turn it over to Nick?
None whatsoever.
All right, Mr. Broyles, our city administrator.
Yeah, as you mentioned, thank you, Mr. President, this agenda item was forwarded by Councilman Chesak. I won't read you the email, you can read the email. The recommended motion out of this email is a motion to request, three parts to this. Request the approximate time and associated expenses from each department to obtain an average cost to Brainerd taxpayers for the work that city employees perform for the Brainerd Lakes Regional Airport. Number 2, request council minutes where direction was given to staff to perform HR services for airport employees. And 3, to request a copy of the IT shared services agreement with the airport and associated dollar amounts and hours to do the work since the agreement was initiated. And I'll turn it over to Councilman Chesak if you have anything to add.
Let's look for a motion first. So y'all understand what we're doing is we're just getting a little more information on the rest of the stuff that we do at the airport and what it costs us. So we're looking for a motion to give this direction to staff.
So moved.
Motion by Chesak, second by Johnson. Now, any discussion on the motion? Terry.
Councilmember Chesak, would you consider putting this work in place after budget time is wrapped up? Because there's a lot of work going on right now to figure out the levy and everything we've got with that. So could we pause it until that's done?
You're suggesting January then?
Yes, sir.
I don't know, there's no time on this motion.
I asked if it could come back in a month. If it can't, it can't. I think whatever staff can come up with, I think it's important to have the information. I appreciate your thoughts there on this, Councilmember Terry, but if staff can't do it within a reasonable amount of time, whenever they can,
Thank you.
So to Terry's point, if it takes them longer, it takes them longer.
Nick, you okay with that answer?
Yes, sir.
Like, answer, give you a kind of a shoot for 30 days and
We will shoot for 30 days, and thank you, Councilman
please give us a
Chesak.
report within 30 days.
I will.
Okay, is
yes.
that fair? Is that fair, Jeff? Okay, Chairman O'Day.
Yeah, I think I agree with Jeff. Hopefully we can get this done, but I do think that this has something directly to do with our budget as well. So if we do have this information, it helps us to budget. It shows us what we're already contributing to the airport in a way, I think. So,
Appreciate that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, this is the direction to staff to at least give a report back within 30 days on these 3 items. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up is item 8, new business. 8A is considering a variance request for 1306 Chicago Avenue duplex. Mr. Krambeck, anything you'd like to add to what's in our packet?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So the variance requests are to adjust the property line to split the two PIDs into two equal parcels in order to construct a duplex. A variance is required as the proposed parcels would exceed the lot maximum frontage of 60 feet and would be under the minimum lot size requirement of 5,000 square feet. The proposed building would also require a variance from the front yard setback to maintain the rear yard setback. The practical difficulty was related to where the driveway had to be placed off Chicago Avenue because it's a corner lot. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval with staff conditions. Those conditions were contingent upon a property maintenance and party wall agreement provided by the applicant and submitted to the city attorney for his review and comment. Legal review fees incurred by the city are to be paid by the developer. Number 2, staff approves final elevation drawings consistent with section 515-4, general building development and design standards prior to issuance of the building permit. And I can answer any questions.
Any questions of staff on the requested variance? Hearing none, we're looking for a motion to either approve or deny with or without the following conditions.
Mr. President, I'll move to approve with staff's recommended conditions.
Thank you. We have a motion by Stengline, a second by O'Day. Any discussion on the variance? Chairman Johnson.
I support it wholeheartedly. This lot is in my neighborhood. It's been vacant and mowed sporadically over the last 10 years or so. It's been listed for probably 10 years, so it's nice to see a developer pick it up and try to put a couple units of housing on it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Chairman, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that this is an interesting solution to a housing problem that also includes garages. So I just want to note that.
Thank you. Any further comments? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the variance request with the following, with those two included conditions, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That variance request is accepted. Item 8B, direct staff on an ordinance pertaining to crypto mining and similar uses. This is Mr. Kramvik. Mr. Kramvik.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the Planning Commission has this item listed on their yearly itinerary work list and may be working on a crypto mining ordinance after completing a design standards ordinance. That will be staff's recommendation after completion of the design standards. Potential crypto mining ordinance would provide a list of requirements in the zoning code's allowed use section. Also potentially making crypto mining a conditional use permit or an interim use permit, and then determining which zoning districts it would be allowed in. So with that, staff did provide a couple options to the City Council. Option 1 would be to direct staff to immediately begin working on a crypto mining ordinance to present to the Planning Commission. Option 2 would be to direct staff to work on a crypto mining ordinance after completion of the design standards ordinance. I'm anticipating design standards probably finishing up around sometime in November.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Okay, this did come up at the EDA meeting. Two members, myself and Mr. O'Day, thought that, we should encourage working on this because it might become an issue either in the future for a third crypto miner, or maybe if either of our two existing crypto miners want to expand. So at this point, they were both able to come in without either of these restrictions. So we thought we should encourage, at least from the EDA's perspective, this as soon as we can. We're looking for a motion.
Evans, I would move to approve option 2,
Option 2.
design standards first.
Yep, after the design standards. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by, okay, we have a motion by Chesak, a second by Johnson on option 2, which is direct staff to work on a crypto mining ordinance after completion of the design standards ordinance. Probably see something by the end of the year. Would guess?
Planning Commission would, and it might be January when City Council would see it.
All right, just so you have some idea. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next up is C, just discussion on just for crypto. Mr. Kramvik.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I was asked to put this on the agenda to clarify the zoning determinations for just for crypto. I know there has been some questions from City Council. So staff included 4 prior projects that were not required to consolidate parcels and were treated as one property in regards to use and setback. I know that was one of the questions on just for crypto. Those projects included Harrison Elementary, the high school, St. Francis, and First Lutheran. I can answer a little bit more, but I did provide that in the report. Staff is not requiring Just for Crypto to consolidate, but did draft a letter explaining that the parcels could not be sold separately and continue to operate as is. Outdoor storage is permitted in the general industrial district, and crypto mining was interpreted to be manufacturing, which is also permitted in the general industrial district. Just for Crypto is well within the allowed outdoor storage area per section 515-3-30 of the zoning code, which is outdoor storage. The difference between Just for Crypto and VCV is VCV was proposing a 1,760 square foot building at 1918 TC Drive, which would have only allowed for 6,160 square feet of outdoor storage based on the 3.5 to 1 ratio. They were proposing approximately 17,800 square feet of storage area. So in this case, outdoor storage became the principal use and required the interim use permit that was ultimately denied by City Council. So with that kind of a discussion, an update, and I can certainly answer any questions from City Council.
Any questions of Chairman Johnson?
Yeah, just a comment. I really appreciate you putting this together and providing the clarification on what's different between the properties. I really appreciate that.
Yep, I agree with that. It did seem sort of strange that we were requiring, at the time it was VCV and now it's Blockmetrics, to require the interim use permit when they were originally proposing outdoor storage only, and yet not for Just for Crypto. So, thank you. Any other I don't think there's a motion necessary on this, but if any other questions as to what Mr. Kramvik just went through? Okay.
And one quick question.
Yeah, Mr. O'Day.
We had any complaints on noise in this particular property?
I have not from my office. I know the TCs have maybe mentioned hearing it, but no complaints that have been sent to our office.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? We will move on then to item 8D, the first reading of proposed ordinance 1574. Mr. Kramvik, you're still up. You're still on the hot seat.
Thank you, Mr. President. So at the September 16th City Council meeting, the council directed staff to draft an amended fee schedule ordinance as presented at that time. Just kind of a quick rundown of what some of those changes are. Building permit fees are increasing for residential set fees, anywhere from about $10 to $30, depending on the type of inspection. Yearly food trucks are being reduced from $300 to $50 plus a $75 yearly inspection by the fire department. And then fire fees are being added to the fee schedule, which were not previously in there. And then most fire fees have increased by $25. They're set fees. So staff's recommendation is conduct the first reading of proposed ordinance 1574 and dispense with the actual reading. Note, a vote to dispense with the actual reading of the ordinance must be unanimous. And then a potential second motion could be calling for a public hearing. A public hearing is not required for every ordinance that City Council passes through. However, City Council could set a public hearing for November 4th and conduct the second reading. If there's no public hearing, it would be the second reading would be conducted October 21st. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Any questions of staff? Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. James, when this first came to Personnel and Finance, I asked about the fire fees, and I see the chief's gone again tonight. He's working, but did we get clarification? Did we get confirmation that yes, all of our fire service, unorganized territory, Oaklawn, everybody is paying the exact same fee schedule that the citizens of Brainerd are paying?
That is my understanding, yes.
That was your understanding
Yes.
then. Have we gotten
And I confirmed it with the
confirmation?
chief. Yes.
We did get confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions of staff? Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I just had a question about the food truck item. It's a big reduction. I didn't know we were having an issue with food trucks, getting them or not getting them. So what was the rationale behind this?
We did. We've had some reach out to us, and some may want to be here for a weekend or a couple days. Or maybe 2 weekends, and to be consistent around with what other communities are doing, staff is recommending reducing it. We did have some food trucks that ended up not attending because of the fees.
Okay, but we have an event fee that they can pay, correct? Don't we already have that?
We have a
where they can pay
one-day
for-
$50 fee that they could
one-day
pay if it was just a
$50 fee,
one-day
yeah.
thing.
Okay. I just thought it's just a significant amount to decrease a fee. And I was not aware that we were having any type of issue getting food trucks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any further questions of staff? Okay, so first up is, we're looking for a motion to hold the first reading of proposed ordinance 1574 and dispense with the actual reading.
So move.
Motion by Stunek, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Terry. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. I'll call that motion passing unanimously. Anybody wish to include a public hearing on the 4th or hold the second reading on the 21st of October? You think we should have a public hearing? I'm hearing nothing, so we'll look that there's no motion needed, and we'll stick to the schedule of the 21st without a public hearing.
Mr. Bevins?
Oh, Mr. Chesak.
I'd like to reconsider what you just said because we're talking about charging people more money without any opportunity.
Oh, I get this. That's why I asked.
Yeah, I think we should have a public hearing because,
Okay, so we have a motion by Chesak.
well, I'll make a motion then.
Yeah, let's get on with it, Jeff. That's why I asked if there was a motion. Okay, we have a motion by Chesak, a second by O'Day to hold the second reading on the 4th of November with a public hearing. Any discussion or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. It was easy. Next up is item E, ordinance 1575, burning restrictions. Mr. Kravik.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the current burning regulations are not codified in city code and can therefore not be easily enforced if a resident does not comply. It's just a PDF file that's on our city website. The language drafted in this ordinance was taken directly from the recreational fire regulations PDF found on that city website. Staff is recommending a slight change from this one to the next one pertaining to the potential misdemeanor for it, taking the same language that we have in our camping ordinance, replacing what's there right now. So the camping ordinance one, which staff is recommending this one to be, any violation of this section is deemed a misdemeanor as defined by Minnesota state statute. Currently a crime for which a sentence of not more than 90 days or a fine of not more than $1,000 or both may be imposed. The current one says that it has to have a court appearance, and based on discussions with Chief Davis, that's something that shouldn't be in there. So with that, staff is to recommend to conduct the first reading of proposed ordinance 1575 and dispense with the actual reading with that small change in there. And then City Council, again, can decide whether or not to hold a public hearing on that one as a potential second motion.
Thank you, Mr. Grambeck. Let's start with any questions of staff on the proposed burning regulations. Hearing none, we'll look for a motion to conduct the first reading of proposed ordinance 1575. Dispense, motion by Chesak. Is there, and dispense with the actual reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Stingline. Any discussion on the ordinance? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Now we go to the option part, and that's, do we hold the second reading on the 21st without a public hearing, or the 4th with a public hearing?
I prefer public hearings. I move that we hold
We
it
have a
on.
motion by Johnson to hold it on the 4th with the public hearing.
Second.
And a second by Terry. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up is item 8F, the first reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance 1576, the annexation of 15106 Riverside Drive. Mr. Kramvik, anything you'd like to add to what's in the packet?
Thank you, Mr. President. So Bruce Coonfield has submitted a petition for annexation to bring his parcel into the city limits. Mr. Coonfield has been connected to city sewer and water, and per council direction, he must annex into the city limits in order to stay connected. So with that, staff's recommending to conduct the first reading and dispense with the actual reading of proposed ordinance 1576. And then after that would be to conduct a public hearing, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of staff on the annexation at 1576, I'm sorry, a proposed ordinance 1576, the annexation at Riverside Drive? The only one I have is, don't normally hold the public hearing at the second reading?
We could. It just has to, public hearing has to be held, and I wanted to make sure that we met the 30-day window.
Okay, we're going to hold it tonight, since I'm sure it was announced.
It was.
Right on. Any other comments on the proposed ordinance? Hearing none, we'll look for a motion to conduct the first reading and dispense with the actual reading of proposed ordinance 1576.
So move.
Motion by Stunek. Is there a second? Second. Second by Terry. A quiet second, but a second.
Second.
That's all right. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, and that motion passes unanimously. It is 8:20, and I will open the public hearing on proposed ordinance 1576. If you've got something you'd like the council to know, please come forward, state your name and address, and let us know what you think of proposed ordinance 1576. If you're online, if you hit *3, you'll notify us that you're wishing to speak, and then when it comes your turn, *6 will unmute you. And I will ask a second time if there's anybody online or in the audience that wishes to speak on this. And I'll ask a final time, and I will close the public hearing on proposed ordinance 1576. And we're done with this for 2 weeks then, right, Mr. Kramick? Next up is discussion of franchise fees. I'm sorry, Jesse. I'm so happy that we get you. Tell us about what we need to know about franchise fees.
Thank you, Mr. President. So at the June 26th Capital Budget Workshop, staff presented some information regarding franchise fees and the possibility of implementing franchise fees as an alternative to construction funding, such as the levy bonding or special assessments. Council requested some additional information, so staff was able to collect some information from Centerpoint and put some information in the attached PowerPoint for the council. In the interest of time for this meeting, staff recorded a presentation going through the PowerPoint in full detail with the link in the agenda. Staff would just like to highlight some of the high-level points in the presentation. Currently, the city funds construction through a combination of levy, bonding, and special assessments, not counting utility funds. There are challenges with our current special assessment policy, such as how to address like mixed-use corridors or regular shaped lots, but even more so the challenge of significantly increased costs of construction. So this hits both city and property owners hard, as bonding and special assessments are pretty expensive, including interest. It's burdensome, and it can be pretty difficult to budget for. Many cities have actually started moving to utilizing a franchise fee model as a replacement for special assessments for funding for their construction projects. It's actually less costly and burdensome as an option for the city and for those that are living on the projects. Overall, all users do pay the franchise fees rather than those just on the construction project. However, this addresses folks that utilize the infrastructure every day that don't necessarily pay special assessments or levies, such as like renters or nonprofits. So staff included an example scenario showing a potential proposed franchise fee rate structure and what the difference would be for a typical residential property, which would be significantly lower under the franchise fee model. But if the council would like to explore the franchise fee model further, staff would recommend that next steps include some public engagement and beginning of the preparation of a policy. And staff can answer questions the council may have on this at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Any questions of staff? Chairman Johnson.
No questions, but a comment.
Yes.
I was out of town all weekend, so I haven't had an opportunity to view the presentation yet. So I just hope we don't take action on anything tonight, because I haven't watched it. I don't know what it says. But that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Mr. Bevins?
Mr. Chesak?
Yeah.
Then Mr. Mayor?
Oh, okay. How does this work with our budget? What changes will we see if we implemented the franchise fee?
It's entirely up to the council on how they want to structure it. So in the model that I'm presenting, I'm recommending a replacement of using franchise fees rather than the city using bonding as a major source of our construction funding, special assessments from the property owner standpoint, and then the construction fund 401 or the permanent improvement levy fund. So those three sources of construction funding, franchise fees replacing those three sources. So lowering to the levy for obviously the debt service, lowering to the levy for the permanent improvement levy, and then obviously no longer using special assessments to the folks that are on the construction projects and utilizing the funds that are raised through the franchise fees to pay for construction.
May I continue?
You have the floor, Mr. Chesak.
Okay, so if we were to, say, initiate this program, what time frame would be required to collect enough fees to do our project scheduled for next year, or would we be putting this, our next project off another year to obtain the required funds to do a project that we typically do of any year we're doing a street project? Does that make-
So in the rate structure that I put together here, in just the proposed one that I have here, it's going to generate roughly about $2 million a year. So that, at least that's what we're projecting here. It really becomes up to the council how they want to structure this. Things like if there's a look back period that can take time into the transition period, how soon the council wants to implement it. If that means starting year one, we want to get rid of special assessments, we can find a way to do that. If that means, continuing to bond for certain things, we can craft this policy in the way that the council wants to do it. But that's, we just need to know that direction from the council, however you wanted to see that done. So there's a lot of different ways to attack this. It's just, obviously, it's going to take time to build that fund, but we have other tools in the toolbox to address things both short-term and long-term.
Okay, and then tell me exactly what utilities would people be paying a franchise fee for? Is that debatable by the council?
I'm proposing electric and gas.
Okay. So if somebody has both, and people do have both, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They would pay one on each.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chesak. Any further comments or questions? I think, don't we have this on cable now, correct? And that pays for putting this on the air, pretty much, except for the $700,000 that we gave to the cable TV board that our attorney says we can't get back. I think this is worth exploring. I think it should go to P&L. And I'd like to see a motion to direct staff to move forward, at least to explore this. That's what that committee's for.
So moved.
Motion by O'Day to move it to, direct staff to move forward, to at least get it to P&F.
Second.
Motion by O'Day, second by Johnson. Any discussion on the motion? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, this is a better time.
Yeah, okay, Mayor Bedot.
Yeah, this is one of the very few things that I'm very passionately anti. I am not a fan of franchise fees. It's taxation without representation. It can be adjusted in ways that I don't think are appropriate for people who are actually paying their taxes. And now granted, you could sway me with more information on it, specifically as to what we're looking at. But in all the research that I've done on it, it is something that I strongly oppose because I don't think that it allows for the correct communication to the public when we just all of a sudden start increasing your fees on things.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the motion is to just direct staff to continue this presentation with PNF at the next meeting in 2 weeks. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up is item H, which is presentations to the council. This is our administrator, Mr. Nick Broyles. What would you like us to know that's not in our packet or that we need to know?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to preface this by saying that we have not been inundated with requests to present before council, but we did have a couple back-to-back. It just prompted me to start thinking about this a little bit. So basically, I am asking for council direction on potentially establishing a protocol for groups who wish to present before the council. This can be anything that the city council can think of, some criteria for we could include criteria for the presentation, benefit to the city at large, what would that benefit be, approval or disapproval, do you want that to be administrative approval, do you want that to be council approval? We have also submitted it as part of the packet, a sample of maybe a very simple one-page form where if there's a group that wanted to present, they could put the date that they're making the request, council date requested for the presentation, the name of their organization, are they seeking any funding from the city, and what knowledge you would like the council to gain from your presentation. So I'm just looking for some direction from council, and perhaps we make no changes whatsoever. But if you want to establish any type of a protocol for groups that wish to present before council, that we could replicate. And then if there is a protocol, do you want that to be approved at the administrative level with staff, or do you want those to come before full council for approval?
Mr. Stunek?
Do we want to put on our form a time frame, like we do for public forum, like 3 to 5 minutes, or 5 to 7, or, so they're not here for 4 hours?
That's an excellent point. Thank you. You understand the issue. Tiffany, you've got a comment, a question?
Yeah, I would prefer it be, how much time are you going to need? And I want to make sure they have the option of being flexible about what date they want to present, so that, if Nick is looking at an agenda that's going to be just jam-packed, but they aren't dead set on that being the date, that they, can, if they want to be flexible about it, that is an
Good
option.
point. Mr. O'Day?
A question for Administrator Boyles. Is this something for you to look over, or for the whole council to vote on when somebody feels?
Could go either way.
Okay, so I think that I agree with these are the right questions. I think it should just go to our administrator who sets the agenda, and our administrator can make the decision on whether it's appropriate for a presentation that's set aside from public forum, or suggest that they go on at the time of public forum. I think we can trust our administrator to make that decision.
Chairman Johnson?
Yeah, thanks. I pulled up the rules of procedure and decorum, and, it says matters for council. Well, matters for council action shall be submitted by members of the council and residents in writing. So residents can submit things for the agenda. And then under subdivision 2, it says an agenda of business for each regular and special council meeting shall be established by the city administrator. So what Mike O'Day said is technically correct. But Nick's here asking, like, what do we want as a council? He's looking for a little direction on what we should be doing. And, looking at the 3 options of our neighbors around us, I kind of like what Crow Wing County does, and I think presentations should be purposeful to what we're doing here as the city of Brainerd.
Correct.
Or you can go to public forum, anybody can go to public forum. But if it's not related to the city of Brainerd business, I don't know if it requires a presentation.
And Nick should make that decision?
Yeah, Nick shall make that decision, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I feel the same way. We have public forum for a reason. People can come, they can speak. We're pretty liberal about the time frame. Sometimes too liberal with the time frame.
Kelly?
In terms of how long you can speak. However, I think it's,
Well, if it's something I want.
Of course it is, always if something you want. But I think we should be welcoming for people to come and speak, in public forum is the correct place to do that. We also are, as council members, should be willing to go to presentations as well. They don't necessarily have to be done here. People can hold presentations that we can go to as well. But just as a grand scheme of things, I think less presentations during the council meeting is probably an appropriate action.
Any other
I
comments?
ask you to repeat that last thing you said, there are less presentations as well.
Less presentations is probably appropriate at the council meetings.
I agree.
Do you feel you're getting any direction, Mr. Administrator?
I have all the direction that I need.
Perfect. Is any last call for questions or comments or concerns on presentation?
I guess I'd just like to, we're here as servants to the people, and if there's somebody out there that thinks that we really do need to know something, I want them to have that option to get on the agenda and present us knowledge. I agree it should be something that vaguely has to do with the city of Brainerd in some way. But I guess I would prefer a more liberal interpretation of purposeful to the city of Brainerd. I don't care what's going on in North Dakota, but if there's something in our community that people want us to know about.
Kara Terry?
I agree with Councilmember Stingland.
Perfect. Mr. Stunek?
I think we've given our city administrator the direction he needs.
I don't know.
I think we leave it at that.
Perfect.
Mr. Bevins,
Mr. Chesak, this has been fun.
this is my first time, by the way.
Yeah, okay. But it's gonna count as 2.
I know. I counted as 3 and I'll be done. If we have a public forum, and anytime if, say, it goes, I agree. If it, if it goes a little long, any council member can ask that it go longer and have a vote on it. So talking about presentation, somebody wants to speak at public forum, they're going over 3, 4, 5 minutes, and I need
Right.
more time. Council can ask to extend it, so.
I think it's probably more the opposite problem. Not that we want to know more,
Yeah.
that we're getting.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just making a
Some presentations aren't always applicable to the city of Brainerd or its business. And so it's gonna be walking a fine line. And I think our administrator is certainly well within his right to ask for some direction on this, so.
Got it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's perfectly clear until the first person gets told, no, I'm sorry, that doesn't really fit, and then we'll have to deal
Gotta
with
be
it. Okay.
guidelines.
Any last comments? Okay. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Administrator. Next up, speaking of next up, is the public forum. Time allocated for citizens.
Up, too.
Oh, and was there something that the chief needed?
No, there was a side comment happening over here. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. Time allocated for citizens to bring matters not on the agenda to the attention of the council. We'd like to keep it to about 3 minutes. It's 8:36. I'll open the public forum. If you're in the audience, please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and let us know what's important to you this evening that we're not currently discussing, or if you're online, *3 will let us know that you wish to speak. We've got a bug problem going here, a box elder bug. And *6 will unmute you.
Wants to speak.
Yeah, maybe the box elder bug wants to speak. So the public forum is open. Let us know what's on your mind. We'll ask a second time if anybody would like to speak at public forum. And we'll ask a third and final time, and then we will close the public forum, and we'll move on to staff reports. We'll start to my right, Mr. Charpentier. Welcome to your second council meeting.
Thank you,
Anything
Mr.
from the
President,
HRA?
and members of the council. Sorry to the fire chief for taking his spot. Just a couple quick updates that I wanted the council to know. We did hear back from Minnesota Housing, or Minnesota Housing made the decision on the 2 applications that we had in for the Workforce Housing Development Program. The unfortunate news is that neither projects did get any funding, 0 funding from that state program. That, again, for your memory, is 805 Laurel and Outlot F over in Brainerd Oaks. So we're disappointed. Both developers are disappointed. We are continuing to work with both of them to see what other options are available to keep those developments hopefully moving in the right direction. But for right now, that is a bit of a setback for both Outlot F and for 805 Laurel.
Thank you, Mr. Charpentier. We'll go on to the police chief. Anything?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Fire Chief Holmes, you look like you've been working. We don't even have a microphone for you, but you can borrow one if you've got anything.
This ought to be good.
Just one quick thing, a reminder of our open house on Thursday, October 10th from 5 to 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Fire Chief. Anything from the IT department, GIS department, Mr. Strong?
Maybe just a quick introduction of our extra cable broadcaster person over here. His name's Matt Hill. He's taken over for Brent from CLC, so he'll be running Park Board and Planning Commission, a few of those kind of meetings, as soon as he learns the ropes.
Thank you and welcome, Matt. Connie Hillman, our Finance Director.
Nothing to report.
Jesse Dean, our City Engineer Public Works Director for now.
Thank you, Mr. President. So a couple updates. The Laurel Street Bridge rehab work is complete, and the bridge was reopened as scheduled last Friday, just in time for the fire department open house. After reaching out to the DVT-BC, they will not be hosting a spooktacular event downtown this year, requiring street closures, but rather simple store-to-store trick-or-treating. And then finally, the next few weeks will be a furious dash with construction projects continuing over the next couple weeks. We have a handful of streets needing pavement markings left, the bridge rehab wrapping up, O Street outfall starting today, the Parks projects continuing. It's just been a busy stretch, and it's going to just continue for a few more weeks yet.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Mr. Kramvik, back again.
Thank you, Mr. President. So just a couple things from the EDA. At the last EDA meeting, the EDA did approve a marketing strategy for Brainerd properties, specifically in our industrial areas, which include potential for $1 an acre incentives if the business meets certain criteria. This will be brought to the next City Council meeting for City Council review. Also, the EDA reviewed preliminary concept plans for both Trailside Park, potential for residential development in there, and then also concept plans for redevelopment of the City Hall parking lot. And then last but not least, just wanted to thank everybody that was able to, as a business, come to Touch a Truck and have their trucks there. The fire department and police department had stuff as well. Fire department did the Jaws of Life and took down a vehicle, so the kids are pretty happy about that. And Flapjack Festival was a success and a lot of fun relays, so just wanted to give everybody a thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Krambeck. Anything from the attorney's office? Nothing here, thank you. Thank you. How about Chris Schubert from the HR department?
Nothing in addition to my report.
Chris Evans from Public Utilities?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple updates from when I submitted my report. We had a couple outages on Riverside Drive, and the cause is still under investigation, and we are doing some testing on some of the devices to hopefully find the cause and correct the issue. So again, that was 2 outages since Friday in that area. And then I guess just the second point is that 2 of our line workers have joined a large contingent from Minnesota heading to Florida for round 2 as part of mutual aid.
Thank you. And our Administrator Broyles.
I just want to mention that we did finished up interviews for the Public Works Director. I'll be making a decision this week, and then I'll hand it over to Chris to start having conversations with that candidate. But had 3 good interviews, so looking forward to getting somebody in place soon.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. Next up is the Honorable Mayor Bedell.
Chris, you said there were outages on Riverside. Today my power flickered and it deleted the project I was working on my computer. So tisk, tisk, Brainerd, tisk,
So thank you.
Tisk, tisk. Also, just to clarify, the sidebar that happened over here was Jeff had said, did someone smell smoke? And I said, the fire chief has arrived. So that's what I interrupted your meeting for. I apologize. And then just super fast clarification about the Spooktacular. The event is still happening in terms of the kids coming down and having candy. I don't want people to get confused on that. Downtown Brainerd will be booming with children in costumes, and there will be candy being had. We're just not closing the streets. So, and then this Saturday, Great Pumpkin Festival, or the Great Pumpkin, is it festival? Yeah. Okay, I don't want to say it wrong. Great Pumpkin Festival, 1 to 4 p.m. at Memorial Park. It was over there last year. We moved from Gregory Park over to Memorial Park last year, and we had a lot of great feedback from parents. The nice thing about hosting it in a softball field is there's a fence all the way around it, and so when the little ones take off, they are corralled back into the area. So we'll be there. It is a park department event, and so we'll be there for that, and then I will be there running the microphone for the races and whatnot. So we'll get those hippity hoppities out, we'll get the pumpkin rolling and whatnot, and a lot of fun last year. So shout out to Sean Middow as well from Streets and the rest of the crew that is going to be stepping up to help out with that. I believe, Tony, you're going to be doing it again? No? Tony, you were a vital part of last year's operation.
I'm not going.
Who will move the hay bales? Anyways, but just a shout out to our staff for being able to help with that. It's a great event, and again, Memorial Park this Saturday, 1 to 4 p.m.
I kind of got the implication you were insinuating we should fence in council chambers to keep the children in line.
I will just say this. We thought maybe it wasn't a great idea, and all we heard from parents was, it's nice having a fence because the people can't run. And maybe just maybe with presentations, that's a good idea as well, right here at the council.
Thank you. Council committee reports. Mr. Chesak, can you lead us off?
Yes, I was thinking maybe if they had pumpkin flavored flapjacks, that would be an idea. It's just a thought. You know, I've never done it, right? Anyways, I was curious about maybe if our administrator or public utilities director could chime in on the issue with IT and how that's moving along. I'm not really sure if that is exactly a personnel issue or operations. I guess, in my mind, that's up for debate, and I'm a little concerned. And I wonder if that would be appropriate at this time to get a little feedback on
Maybe
that.
give them 2 weeks?
Well, I don't know what's going on. I mean.
I know. I don't know if they're ready to give a report. We can ask, but.
Or just an update, perhaps?
All right, Mr. Broyles can give us an update.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So yes, I am working, just to be frank, I'm working under the premise that the way we're organized, job titles, chain of command is an administrative function. And I have directed IT. They're going to be giving me a draft org chart that shows administrative integration of City Hall and BPU this Wednesday.
Can I answer your question?
An organizational chart?
Yes.
It doesn't, does this mean anything to do with the IT with public utilities and our department that Sean Strong takes care of combining or?
Yes, both.
cross-training?
Both administratively combining.
And that's not operations with IT?
I would argue that it's administrative.
Okay. I'll ask to have that on our next agenda then for council discussion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anything else, Mr. Chesak?
Nope, thank you.
Tiffany Sangline?
Well, it's been a busy time. Some of you have been at, oh, sorry, Jeff. I'm jumping out in front of you. So I want to thank Sean and Tony for cooking and feeding us. Yeah. Some of you forgot to mention that, didn't you? I had to go back on my calendar. The employee appreciation event, I always have to kind of roll myself home after eating there. I also wanted to mention because we were talking about presentations, there was a fabulous presentation put on by the Relationship Safety Alliance. Sorry, it didn't seem to work for other folks, but on the intersection of substance use disorder and domestic violence. And that was a great learning experience that I know that some folks in the community were able to attend. I was disappointed that I was the only city council member to end up with whipped cream up my nose at the Flapjack Festival. Nobody else partook in the pancake eating contest.
We all know how to eat our pancakes. We do them differently here in Brainerd. We use a spoon and a knife and a fork.
I prefer maple syrup myself.
And I wanted to also, because just in case she doesn't, but the Tall Cop Says Stop presentation was great, and I've shared some of the goodie bag handouts that I got with some other people. The telling candy from like drugs handout was very interesting. And then kind of just to make everybody aware, Coats for Kids is happening before our next meeting. That's going to be on the 19th. So for those of you who aren't familiar, this is the 38th annual Coats for Kids coat drive. And so the distribution day will be October 19th from 9 to 3 at the mall. It is a partnership between Hubbard Broadcasting, Crystal Cleaners, and this year the Y has taken over Kinship Partners role. And so we will get somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 coats out into the community to keep kids warm. If you're interested in volunteering, let me know. If you have kids who need to stay warm, you can just come.
Thank you. Chairman O'Day?
Yeah, thank you, Tiffany. I want to second that the employee appreciation event was awesome. It's always good when Sean's cooking. Every time he cooks, he's bringing something new to the table, and it's always great. It's good to see everybody. We get to see department heads and everybody that's in here, and sometimes we get to see maybe the fire department or some of the cops out there. Or, well, some of us get to see the cops more than others probably, but you know, we don't always get to know every employee in the town that we're trying to help lead. So it's good to see everybody there and just get to know everybody, even if it's just a few of you each year. Wish we could do it more. But I also had a great time at the Flapjack Festival and Touch a Truck. It was put on great. It was well attended.
I witnessed Tiffany make the mistake that I made years ago with the pancake contest, so I did not participate. But was able to go to a new store that came into downtown and even purchase some boots. I didn't bring them. Maybe I'll bring them when it gets a little colder. But I'm looking forward to Saturday's Great Pumpkin Festival because I learned a new word just now from Mayor Bedeau that there will be hippity hoppities there, and I want to see what that is. So
I should probably confirm that we have hippity hoppities. I know where they are, if anyone
that's
can't
an
find
actual
them.
thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Stunek?
I really enjoyed petting the fire trucks. It was so long ago that I did that. It just was so nice. That's all I have.
Thank you, Terry.
Nothing to add.
Mr. Johnson?
A couple things. I too was at the Flapjack Festival, and I want to give a tip of the cap to Jackson Johnson, Joe Johnson, and Carter Johnson, who won the Flapjack relay. So, Flapjack champions. And it's nights like tonight where I kind of miss two-time city administrator Jim Thoreen.
Oh, God.
I'm going to extend the opportunity for Administrator Broyles if he wants to take it. But Jim Thoreen used to sing people happy birthday during the council meeting if it was their birthday. And tonight, our Honorable Mayor Bedeau is celebrating his 14th, 29th birthday. So if you want to take the opportunity, go ahead. If not, that's perfectly fine.
Are you going to join me?
No.
I'll say no.
Earlier, I said that I was very strongly against franchise fees. The Happy Birthday song is the worst song in the history of songs.
And I'll finish up by saying I think Gabe knows where the hippity hops are, and I think he's been on them. Using the hippity hops. I also had a power outage today, just for a minute, but it was really quick. I did notice at 7 o'clock when the chainsaw started that our street and sewer department was out clearing dead trees off the boulevard right outside my bedroom window a couple of days ago, and I actually want to give them a shout out. 7 is early, but they did a great job. They took down 2 massive dead 5-foot in diameter silver maples on the neighbor's boulevard in about a day and a half. And that counts cleaning up and everything. I mean, these things were monster. They had been around since the Flintstones lived in Brainerd, so they did a great job. So if it all goes that smooth, that whole operation, there'll be no need for the resurrection of the tree committee. So,
Mr. Bevins?
yeah, Mr. Chesak.
For Mayor Bedeau, this is your birthday song. It isn't very long. Hey!
Hey, got it.
All right.
Much better.
I think you've been hanging out with Gabe too long. And the hippity hops. That's the end of the council committee reports. Let's look for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by Stunek, second by somebody down on SP&W. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.